Jenny was young when her mother took her away to live in the city with her uncle, Mr. Peter. That night, before traveling to the city to meet Uncle Peter, Jenny's mother told her to be obedient to her uncle. "Make sure you listen to your uncle," her mother said. "He is a good man. Always be respectful towards your elders, just like I have taught you. Do whatever your uncle tells you to do, because he is wise." Jenny's mother then began to arrange her daughter's luggage for the long journey to Uncle Peter's house. Very early the next morning, Uncle Peter drove into the compound. Jenny was already prepared and waiting for her uncle to come and take her to the city. She happily carried her bags to the car and sat down as the engine started. Jenny's mother was a little sad. The city was far from the town, which meant it would be impossible to see her daughter anytime soon. "Please take care of my daughter and don't forget everything I have taught you," Jenny's mother said while waving. Uncle Peter drove faster toward the city. The journey was long but fun. Jenny enjoyed watching all the tall buildings and the beauty of the city. She was amazed by all the sights and sounds. Uncle Peter noticed her amazement and smiled. "You will get used to city life soon," he said. When they finally arrived at Uncle Peter's house in the city, Jenny was shocked to see the big mansion he was living in. Inside, she was given some food to eat. She sat at the dining table enjoying her jollof rice and juice. Mr. Peter was a successful businessman. He had a wife and 2 children who lived with him in the city. But Uncle Peter's wife was a traveler. She was always moving from one city to another, sometimes visiting only twice a month. As Jenny settled into her new life, she began to notice her uncle's behavior toward her changing. He would often find excuses to touch her and make her feel uncomfortable. At first, Jenny thought maybe her uncle was just being overly affectionate, but as the incidents continued, she realized something was wrong. She felt trapped and scared and didn't know who to turn to. One day, as Jenny was playing with her uncle's children, she heard her uncle scream her name. She went to answer him. Peter was inside his room. Since it was Saturday, he stayed at home, as he didn't work on Saturdays. He was watching a video on the television, an adult video, which was improper for a young girl like Jenny. Jenny entered the room and saw her uncle watching. Uncle Peter stared at her for a few seconds. He noticed that she was wearing an attractive dress. "Go and get me a glass of water," he told her. Jenny rushed to get the water. When she left, Peter began to have bad thoughts about his niece. Influenced by the movie he was watching, he wanted to do exactly what he saw. Since his wife was never around, he felt lonely. Jenny returned with the glass of water. Peter collected it and placed it on a small table beside his bed. Then he stood up and locked the door. As a young girl, Jenny was confused about why her uncle was locking the door. He looked at her anxiously and said, "Jenny, I need something from you." Jenny asked, "What do you want, uncle?" "I want you to give me what my wife hardly does," Peter replied. Jenny was confused. She didn't understand what he was talking about. Uncle Peter then placed his hands on her shoulder and rubbed softly. He tried to bring his hand down to where he was not supposed to touch, but Jenny quickly removed his hands. "Uncle, my mother told me not to allow anyone to touch me there," Jenny said, looking at him. She was scared but didn't know what to do. Her uncle continued, "Jenny, remember your mother told you to do everything I say. That's because she knows I can't hurt you. Just let me touch it now." Jenny thought for a while and remembered her mother had warned her not to disrespect her uncle. So, she allowed him to touch her where he wanted. As a young girl, she didn't understand what was happening. She had never experienced such a thing before. Uncle Peter proceeded even further. When she couldn't take it anymore, she told him to stop, but he didn't listen. She tried to escape but couldn't. She cried and cried, but no one came to her aid. Meanwhile, Peter's children were in the living room playing, waiting for Jenny to return. They didn't know she was going through a terrible ordeal. When they heard her scream, one of Peter's children decided to check. The little boy walked toward the sound and realized it was coming from his father's bedroom. He tried to open the door, but it was locked. Mr. Peter quickly noticed someone at the door. He opened it, pretending nothing had happened. His son John asked, "Father, what's wrong with Jenny?" I heard her crying. Don't worry, son. Jenny fell while getting me a glass of water, so I was attending to her. She'll be fine, Peter replied. Jenny knew her uncle was lying. She wanted to speak out, but he had told her to remain silent. That night, Jenny sat on her bed crying. Stop crying, Jenny. You're almost a woman now. You'll get used to it, Uncle Peter told her. Uncle, please don't do that to me again. It hurts, she begged. Peter smiled and said, it's just a play between me and you. Don't worry, next time we'll play a different kind of game. He then gave her some snacks as a gift and warned her not to tell her mother anything. Out of fear and confusion, Jenny agreed. The next day, Jenny's mother arrived in the city. Jenny was excited but also nervous. At the dining table, her mother asked how she was doing. Jenny wanted to tell her everything but was too scared. I'm fine, Mommy, she said, forcing a smile. Her mother looked at her closely, sensing something was wrong. Just then, Peter walked in, smiling and pretending to be a good man. Jenny's mother thanked him for taking care of her daughter. He replied, don't worry, I'll continue to take good care of her and even arrange a new school for her. Jenny's mother was relieved. She couldn't afford to send her daughter to school, and this was one reason she had left her with her brother. She stayed for 2 weeks, during which Peter couldn't carry out his evil plans because he didn't want to take the risk. When it was time to leave, Peter gave her food items and money. She thanked him and left. Now, Peter was ready to continue his wicked deeds. One day, Jenny was cleaning the house when she heard him call her name. She became scared but walked to his room. Jenny, I have plenty of snacks for you. Come, let's play our usual game, and I'll give you lots of them, he said. But Uncle, the game is painful and makes me uncomfortable, Jenny replied. He convinced her again. Just as he was about to start, there was a knock on the door. This time, it was his wife. Honey, it's me. Open the door, I'm back, she shouted. Peter froze. Jenny's face lit up with joy. At last, someone had arrived to rescue her from her troubled situation. Peter's wife pushed the door handle again. Why is this door locked, Peter? What are you doing in there? Her voice carried suspicion. Jenny's heart pounded like a drum. She wanted to scream, to cry out, but fear sealed her lips. Peter quickly adjusted his shirt and whispered harshly, don't say a word, Jenny. If you tell her, you will regret it. He unlocked the door and forced a smile. His wife stepped in, her eyes darting around. She saw Jenny standing stiffly by the wall, her face pale and her eyes swollen from tears. Jenny, what are you doing here? Why do you look like this? She asked, walking toward her. Peter jumped in quickly. Oh, she was just helping me clean the room. You know how kids are, she got tired and was sulking. That's why she looks upset. Jenny lowered her gaze, afraid to speak. His wife, however, wasn't fully convinced. She placed her hand gently on Jenny's shoulder. Are you okay, my dear? Jenny nodded slowly, forcing a smile, but inside she was breaking apart. That night, Jenny couldn't sleep. Her uncle's threats echoed in her mind. She wanted to tell someone, her mother, her aunt, even John, Peter's son, but the fear of not being believed weighed heavily on her. The next day, when Peter's wife left again for another trip, his true face returned. He cornered Jenny in the kitchen. You think you're clever, don't you? If you ever dare to open your mouth, I'll make sure no one believes you. Who do you think they'll trust? Me, a respected businessman, or you, a little village girl? Tears streamed down Jenny's face. She was trapped. But fate had another plan. One evening, Jenny was playing with John and his sister when John suddenly asked, Jenny, why does Daddy always call you into his room and lock the door? Jenny froze. She looked at John, her lips trembling. She wanted to deny it, but the weight in her chest pushed her to whisper, Your daddy, he hurts me. John's eyes widened. He didn't understand everything, but he knew it was bad. He hugged Jenny tightly. Don't cry. I'll protect you. That night, John overheard his father on the phone, laughing with a friend and boasting drunkenly about having a young girl in the house who obeys his every word. John's small fists clenched. For the first time, he saw his father not as a hero, but as a monster. The next morning, John made a decision that would change everything. He quietly took Jenny by the hand and whispered, "Come with me. We're going to tell someone." They slipped out of the mansion while Peter was at work. John led her to a neighbor's house. Their family lawyer, a stern but kind old man who had known Peter for years. When Jenny broke down in tears and John explained what was happening, the lawyer's face grew dark with anger. "This must stop immediately," he said. But what John and Jenny didn't know was that Peter had already returned home early that day, and he was standing outside the neighbor's gate, listening. Peter's heart raced as he stood outside the neighbor's gate, hearing Jenny's trembling voice and John's innocent attempt to explain. Rage boiled inside him. How dare they? How dare this little girl and his own son betray him? He pushed the gate open slowly and stepped inside, pretending to smile. "Ah, Lawyer Chike," Peter said warmly, though his eyes were sharp as knives. "I didn't know my kids were here disturbing you." The lawyer narrowed his eyes. "Peter, we need to talk. Right now." But before the lawyer could continue, Peter interrupted, his tone suddenly firm. "Children, come home this instant. Your mother will be worried." Jenny's knees weakened. John gripped her hand tightly, refusing to move. "No," John said, his voice small but steady. "We are not going with you." Peter's smile faded. His jaw clenched. He stepped closer, lowering his voice so only they could hear. "You think anyone will believe you? Jenny, you'll be called a liar. And John," he looked at his son with cold eyes, "you are my blood. Do you want to destroy this family?" John swallowed hard, fear washing over him, but his grip on Jenny didn't loosen. Lawyer Chike stepped forward. "Peter, I've heard enough to be deeply concerned. You must leave these children with me until this matter is properly addressed." Peter's face darkened. "With all due respect, Chike, this is my family. My niece, my son. Don't interfere in what you don't understand." He grabbed Jenny's arm suddenly, pulling her toward him. She gasped and tried to resist. John shouted, "Leave her alone," and hit his father's hand. Peter turned on his son, his eyes blazing with fury. "You ungrateful child. Do you think you can fight me?" He raised his hand to strike John, but the lawyer blocked him. "Peter," Chike's voice thundered. "One more step, and I will call the police this instant." Peter froze, chest heaving. For the first time, he realized his secret was slipping out of his control. He forced a bitter smile. "Fine. But remember, children," his gaze pierced Jenny like a dagger, "every word you speak has consequences." He stormed out of the compound, slamming the gate behind him. Jenny collapsed to the floor, sobbing uncontrollably. John knelt beside her, whispering, "Don't worry, Jenny. He won't hurt you again. I promise." But deep down, John knew his father was not going to give up so easily. The battle had only begun. That night, Peter sat alone in his study, the lights dim, his face hidden in shadows. The image of Jenny crying in Chike's compound replayed in his head. The shame. The fear of being exposed. The thought of his reputation, his wealth, his entire empire collapsing, all because of a little girl and his foolish son. "No," he muttered, gripping his glass of whiskey so tightly it cracked. "I can't let this happen. Not now. Not ever." He picked up his phone and dialed a number. "Bala," he whispered. "I need you to do a job for me." Quietly. The lawyer, and the girl. They must never speak again. On the other end, a cold laugh echoed. "Consider it done." The next morning, Chike noticed a black SUV parked across his house. The men inside didn't look like neighbors. He felt a shiver crawl up his spine. He had faced dangerous clients before, but this felt different, personal, evil. Meanwhile, Jenny stayed indoors, clinging to John like a shadow. She barely ate, barely slept. Every sound outside made her flinch. "John," she whispered one night, her eyes wide with fear. "What if your father kills me?" John hugged her tightly. "I won't let him. I'll protect you." But even as he spoke, his small voice cracked with doubt. Later that night, Peter arrived at Chike's house under the pretense of a family visit. He brought gifts, food, and a fake smile plastered on his face. "Chike, my old friend," he said smoothly, We've known each other for years. Why let a child's imagination cause a rift between us? He slid an envelope across the table, thick with cash. Chike didn't touch it. Peter, money won't wash away evil. What Jenny told me is serious. If you don't confess, I will take this to the police. Peter's smile vanished. He leaned closer, his voice low and menacing. Think carefully, Chike. You have a family, don't you? A wife, a son. It would be a shame if something happened to them. Chike's blood ran cold, but he didn't flinch. Are you threatening me? Peter stood, buttoning his jacket. His eyes burned with fury. I'm warning you. Stay out of this, or you and that little rat of a girl will both regret it. When he left, the air felt heavy with danger. That night, Jenny had a terrible dream. She saw herself locked in a dark room, screaming, while Uncle Peter's shadow loomed larger and larger over her. She woke up trembling, drenched in sweat. Unbeknownst to her, outside the compound, Bala and his men were already watching, waiting, planning. And inside his mansion, Peter stared out of his window at the city lights, whispering to himself, by the time I'm done, no one will dare cross Peter Okchukwa. The following evening was quiet. Too quiet. The streets outside Lawyer Chike's compound seemed emptier than usual, the air heavy like a storm waiting to break. Jenny sat near the window, hugging her knees, her eyes darting at every shadow. John tried to cheer her up with a toy car, but she didn't smile. John, something bad is coming. I can feel it, she whispered. At midnight, while the household slept, a black SUV rolled silently to a stop outside the gate. Two men stepped out, Bala and his partner, both cloaked in darkness. With practiced precision, they cut through the padlock and slipped inside. Jenny stirred in her sleep. A chill passed through her body. She opened her eyes and froze. A tall figure stood in her room, the blade of a knife catching the moonlight. She let out a muffled scream, but Bala clamped his rough hand over her mouth. Quiet, little bird, he hissed. Come with me, and no one gets hurt. John, who had been sleeping on the floor beside her, jolted awake. His eyes widened in horror. Leave her alone, he shouted, grabbing Bala's arm with all his small strength. Bala shoved him to the ground, but the commotion woke Lawyer Chike in the next room. He grabbed a torchlight and rushed out. Who's there? Bala cursed under his breath. His partner grabbed Jenny, dragging her toward the window. Jenny kicked and thrashed, her eyes wide with terror. Chike entered just in time to see the men trying to snatch her. Without thinking, he swung the heavy torch at Bala's head. The blow landed with a sickening thud, and Bala staggered. Jenny slipped from his grasp and scrambled toward Chike. But the second man pulled out a gun. Old man, stay out of this, or you're dead, he barked. Chike froze. His heart pounded. John clung to his leg, trembling. Jenny sobbed. Please don't take me, please. At that moment, a loud whistle cut through the night. The neighbors, alerted by the noise, had gathered outside. Flashlights flickered through the compound, voices shouting, Who's there? Thieves. Call the police. Bala cursed again. We'll finish this later, he spat. He shoved his partner toward the window, and within seconds they vanished into the night, the SUV screeching away before the neighbors could reach the gate. Jenny collapsed into Chike's arms, shaking uncontrollably. Her face was pale, her small hands trembling. They came to kill me, she whispered. Chike's jaw tightened. He knew now without doubt. Peter would stop at nothing to bury his sins. He lifted Jenny into his arms, looked at John, and said firmly, This ends tonight. We are going to the police. Your father's evil will not win. But across the city, in his mansion, Peter slammed his whiskey glass against the wall in rage when Bala called. You failed me, he roared. You let a child escape you. Do you know what this means? Bala's voice was cold. Relax. The girl is still yours for the taking. But next time, there won't be any witnesses. Peter's eyes burned with madness. He muttered to himself, If the law wants a war, then I'll give them one. Jenny will not destroy me. John held Jenny tighter, her small arms gripping his neck. Uncle John, are we safe? She whispered. Yes, my dear, John said, though his jaw clenched with fear. We are going to the police right now. No one will hurt you again. Minutes later, the police station erupted into activity as John gave his statement. The commissioner himself listened, eyes widening as the full horror unfolded. Child abuse, bribery, kidnappings, and the dangerous reach of Peter's empire. This is bigger than we imagined, the commissioner said grimly. If Peter thinks he can declare war, then war he will get. Tonight, we bring him down. Meanwhile, in his mansion, Peter paced like a trapped lion. Armed men surrounded him, rifles gleaming under the chandelier lights. Bala leaned on the wall, loading his pistol. Boss, the police will come. They've smelt blood. Peter sneered. Then let them come. This is my city. I've bought judges, officers, ministers. No child, no man, no law can touch me. He raised his glass again, though his hand trembled. If Jenny opens her mouth, everything burns. She must not live. Night fell heavy. Sirens wailed in the distance. Police vans screeched through the streets, headlights slicing through the dark. Jenny, in a protective blanket, sat in the back of one van beside John, clutching his hand. The commissioner's voice barked over the radio. All units, surround Peter Okafor's mansion. No one in, no one out. Tonight, this ends. The mansion gates burst open with a deafening crash. Gunfire exploded into the night. Bala shouted, "They're here," as bullets ricocheted off marble pillars. Peter staggered back, his face twisting between rage and terror. "Kill them all," he screamed. The gunfight raged. Police advanced with shields, their rifles blazing. Men in black suits fell one by one, crying out in agony. The once proud mansion was now a battlefield of smoke, shattered glass, and screams. John, shielded by two officers, moved closer. His eyes locked on Peter, who had taken Jenny's picture frame from his desk and clutched it like a curse. "You ruined me," Peter shouted across the chaos, pointing at John. "A child and a nobody like you, do you know who I am? I built this city." "No," John's voice cut like steel. "You poisoned it. And tonight, it's over." Then came the final blow. The commissioner himself stormed in, his pistol raised. "Peter Okafor, you are under arrest for crimes against humanity, corruption, and child abuse. Drop your weapon." But Peter laughed manically, pulling out a revolver. "I would rather die a king than rot in your filthy prisons." Before he could fire, Bala, realizing the battle was lost, turned his gun on Peter. One deafening shot echoed. Peter staggered, eyes wide with shock, blood staining his shirt. "You betrayed me," he croaked, before collapsing to the marble floor. Bala dropped his gun, raised his hands, and fell to his knees as police swarmed him. The room fell silent except for Jenny's sobs. John rushed to her side, holding her close. "It's over," he whispered, tears brimming in his eyes. "He can't hurt you anymore." The commissioner looked at John with solemn respect. "You saved her. You saved many more children whose voices were silenced." Outside, as dawn broke, the once mighty mansion smoldered behind them. Jenny rested her head on John's chest, finally closing her eyes in peace. John stared at the rising sun. "This war took too much," he murmured. "But at least, justice has spoken." And for the first time in years, the city felt free.